morning, everybody. I'm coming to you from my fitness fort here in my house, just finishing up with my Thursday morning cardio core class. I'd like to do a shortened version of that class so that you can follow along at home. So we're going to start out with our warm-up. We're going to take it into a downward dog position. It's a good idea to start with some good stretches before we get started with any class format. We're going to kick that left leg up towards the ceiling, bending that knee and opening up the hip. And switch sides. And one more on each side. And switch. And let's go ahead and take it down into our child's pose. We want to bring the heels together to open up the knee so we get a little more of a hip opening as we extend our arms out in front of us, drop our butts down onto our heels, and just extend those arms straight out and give it a good nice inhale. And exhale. And again. And coming up into high plank, we're going to do one more stretch before we get started as we take that left foot to the outer part of that left hand. Bending that right knee, that gives us a little more of a stretch in our right hip flexor and right quadricep, and turn and open. And we're going to do that on the other side, taking that right foot to the outer part of that right hand, dropping the left knee, feeling your left quad, left hip flexor, and again, turn to the right. Come back down into child's pose. And depending on how much time you have before you start your workout, you can move into another set of that stretch and into more stretches. But we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to come down onto a forearm plank here. So the focus today in our core, I did a lot of work in my obliques, which is the side of your transverse abdominal. So as we're in our plank position, and I have my feet just slightly apart, my core is engaged as my back stays neutral, and I'm going to go into what's called a body saw. And the body saw is just simply this back and forward motion. And as I start to bring my body forward, I can feel my core tighten up, and I'm breathing. And just to be conscious of any pressure that could go into the shoulders, again, tighten up that core. We did 45 seconds. You can do timed sets, 30, 45, 1 minute, depending on how much time you have. You can go into repetition. We're going to turn it around onto our backs. Second exercise that we did. Coming all the way down on your back. You're going to take your right hand and you're going to lift towards that left toe. So I'm going to take my upper body and I'm going to engage that core again as I reach up. Alternate it. To get a little more oblique, you can turn that torso a little more. Right? And if you want to advance the move, grab a dumbbell. Go ahead and reach that dumbbell, slightly turn that torso on the down. You're going to switch hands and alternate. So again, we did that for 45 seconds. And then when the timer went off, we turned it around back into plank. And we did a little cardio burst because, again, it's cardio core class. So with both feet together, we come back into plank. And tucking the knees into the chest, we jump forward. Jump back to plank, re-engage the core. So here we are, just consistently moving through this exercise for that 45-second time. So we did those 3 exercises as our first sequence, and we did 3 rounds. So now we're going to move on to what we did in the second sequence. And again, we came back into a forearm plank, still with the focus being on our obliques. Again, your feet are hip distance apart. What you're going to do is you're going to drop your hips side to side, keeping both forearms down on the mat. So just being aware that your only focus is on that lower part of your body, your core. Now to advance the move, which we did in my class this morning, as you start to drop your hip, you take that leg, right? You can touch it if you have that flexibility. If you don't, you still can get a good range of motion here as you get obliques and a little bit of a hip opening. But mind you, keeping the forearms on the floor. We don't want to lift, right? We don't want to turn. We want to make sure that our hip bones come back and are parallel to the floor. And then again, as we turn, gives it that little isolation that we're looking for. So again, we did that one for 45 seconds. Then we turned it around in exercise number 2. We did what's called a dying bug. We came down onto our backs with our legs in tabletop. We're going to put our hands on top of our knees like this. What we're going to do in order to engage that core before we go into the move, because if we're in this position already, you probably feel that your lower lumbar, that lower back is starting to kind of shift up a little bit, right? So what I want you to do is tuck the pelvis, press your spine down onto the floor, and right away before I even do anything, I could feel that core engaged. So then I'm going to take my opposite leg to hand, extend the left leg, bring the right arm above your head. Come back to the center, re-engage, and switch. If you want to advance the move, you can bring your head up off the floor while maintaining that neutral position of your neck. Same thing, tucking the pelvis, pressing the spine down. It's very easy as we move through this, whether it's repetition or time, for the lower back to want to take over. So just be mindful of that. Then as we moved into our third exercise of this sequence, again, another cardio one, we turned it around. And we did a mountain climber, 4 mountain climber, 2, 3, 4, 1 floor jack. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, jack. Keeping the consistency going for that 45 seconds that we had the timer. 2, 3, 4, keep again the butt down. Gets the heart rate up there without too much impact. So that was sequence number 2. So as we move into sequence number 3, we got a little creative. I used my gliders here. Some of you might have the gliders at home. Some of you may not. So I asked everybody to grab little hand towels. And almost everybody had hand towels. So depending on also the surface that you have, will also depend on how efficient this exercise is if you're doing it in your home. If you have hardwood floor around you, obviously that's better to be on the towels or the gliders if you have on the dark side, the black side of the disc. So let me show you what we did here, okay? I have carpet here, so I'm gonna put the shiny side. I'm gonna put my balls of my feet right in the center of my discs. I'm gonna start out in a plank position with my hands directly under my shoulders. And you can see that my core, again, is stabilized, right? So we're going to do obliques again as we bring both knees to the elbows. Come back to center, alternating. So this requires a lot of control. And again, because I have this carpet under me, it's a little bit more challenging when it comes to the fluidness of moving the disc. But either way, I can definitely feel my core. See how my feet can't stay on it completely. We're going to do the best we can. So we did this again for 45 seconds. So then we came to the mat again. So coming onto your buttocks, your legs are straight with a slight bend in your knee. So I'm starting this exercise with my chest up, my arms above my head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean back and I'm going to bring that arm and I'm going to take my fingertip to the floor, look towards that hand, reach up again. And my eyes are going with my hands. I want to make sure that I'm following along so I can maintain good posture alignment when I back up here in the center. So again, you want to use your breath. Inhale, exhale. Paying attention to your back. And then exercise number 3, again for the cardio piece. We're going to come up onto our feet and we're going to start in this wide sumo position. We're going to reach fingertips down to the floor, squat down, jump. It's like a jack, but using your hands as you jump forward. You can jump forward, get creative, jump back, or just stay in that one spot there. So that we did again for 45 seconds. So that was a really good heart rate burst there. So that was the 3 sequences, and those were the exercises that we did. And then we did a little finisher. And in that finisher, that's always just a little bit of a, at the end, if you have like 5 minutes more and you want to just really get that metabolic work, right? So that keeps that heart rate elevated. So we did 5-minute, what's called an AMRAP. And an AMRAP is as many rounds as possible that you can get in a certain time frame. So I gave them 3 exercises, stay true to the format form. I set the timer for 5 minutes and the number was 10. Okay, so let me show you the exercises that we did. So we did this exercise. There's a lot of different names for it. Military plank, pop-up, elevator plank. Okay, you're gonna know exactly this exercise. I'm sure you've all done it on some level. You're gonna start in a forearm plank. We're gonna come up onto the hand plank. Alternate it, right? So you're doing a total of 10, 5 on each side. Okay, then we turned it around and we went into a high V sit. Now you could do 2 things. A little more advanced is with your legs straight as you come up and you reach your fingertips to your toes. Okay, again, making sure that as you come into this V, that back is neutral. I'm not rounded, right? I'm here. If this is a little too much for you, certainly the modification would be the knee tuck. If you bring your arms above your head, it gives you a little more momentum. Okay, exercise number 3, we came back up on our feet and we did these lateral skaters. We touched our back foot to the floor, reached down, and again, it was a total of 10, 5 on each side. Then we repeated it. So again, in that 5 minutes, we just kept repeating those 3 exercises until the timer went off. It's definitely a good finisher. It gets the heart rate up there and it has you definitely feeling that you've done a lot of work. So there is my cardio core class in a shortened version, and hopefully you guys can get a little inspiration from that, and that if there's anything else that you want from us, we chime into our YouTube channel, Elevation Spin Train TRX. Subscribe to it, and we also have a lot of classes that we do via Zoom on our website, so go ahead and check out the Elevation Spin Train TRX website, and everybody have a fabulous day. Thank you.